Hello, you're listening to Hibs Talk. I'm Gav, and today I was joined by Craig and the chairman of Hibernian supporters, Jim Addy, as we discuss the hashtag Hampden100k. So joining us now from Hibernian supporters is Jim Addy. Jim, how are you getting on?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. Craig, how are you getting on?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. So today, obviously, the main thing we're going to be chatting about is the Hampden 100, which we're going to get to in a second. But Jim, what's your kind of overall thoughts been on Hibs so far this season? Obviously, fourth on the table at the moment. Thoughts on Jack Ross overall?
I think we've had it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We had obviously a better start. We obviously in recent weeks we seem to have lost our mojo a wee bit.
Yeah.
But I think overall, we've had a good season. We're still if we can get back to where we were, we're still in a position where we can get that third spot, which I think, if we're all honest, at the start of the season, we would have been delighted to take third spot. And in some ways also fourth spot, because obviously this year that also gives us Europe. So I think it's been a good season so far, but there's a bit to go, and we've got to try and make sure that we don't go off the boil, because in this league you're about 3 or 4 games away from fighting relegation. So
yeah,
the next few weeks are pretty crucial.
I think we've seen that, how quickly things can turn around. You know, Livingston have went on a quite an incredible run, but now they're only 6 points behind us with a game in hand, so that could quite easily be 3. It's quite scary how quickly that can all change. But one of the positives is obviously that we're in the League Cup semi-final. We play St Johnstone on the 23rd of January. So Hibernian supporters are launching the hashtag Hampden100k. So just sort of overall, what is the campaign, Jim?
Essentially, the campaign is an effort to try and raise some very quick extra money that we would like to donate to the club at the end of this month. Every month to date, we've been handing over somewhere between 20 and 25,000 a month. Now that came a result of, if you remember, way back in May, when obviously the consequences of the pandemic really started to become known. The club itself made an announcement regarding the financial situation, which I think probably maybe depicted a really, really bleak situation. We were then contacted by a number of our members and 1 or 2 non-members, effectively to say, club looks as if it's in really serious trouble. What can we do to help? Now, we responded to that. Obviously, although our position is particularly designed to improve the ownership stake in the club, at times like this, we've got to also remember that we're there to help the club in general terms as well. So we responded to that, and with a great response. And since that date, we've donated over $250,000 to the club. Now, given what I was just saying about where we are in terms of the league, what we thought would be helpful is if we could get an extra injection of money into the club at a time when it may be possible to make a difference. In other words, if we could get 100,000 in, that could be the difference between bringing in an extra player in the January window or not, or even a loan agreement, anything. It's not for us to decide how the money's used, but clearly an extra amount of 100 grand at times like this, it would be a phenomenal amount. So that's what the campaign's designed around. What we had in mind in regarding the cup was we thought that if supporters, only those who could afford it, of course, if they were to think about what they would spend going to the League Cup semi-final, clearly they won't now be spending that. And if they were minded to do it, that they could make a donation to us of the amount of money that they would have spent going to that League Cup semi-final. And that obviously we'd pass on to the club.
It's not a cheap day out, Hampden, Craig, is it?
No. Well, the ticket per hand is probably the cheapest part. It's the before and after that's the dearer bits.
I mean, you've got what traveling through, so either a supporters bus or a train or fuel, and then you've got pies and stuff when you get there, and food beforehand as well because it's a long day out, and
then a pint, then a pint, then another pint, then maybe another pint, then maybe another pint.
Aye. I mean, quite easily, I think, on a Hampden day. I mean, I don't have any kids or that, and I could probably quite easily spend about 80, 90 quid quite easily. How much would it be yourself with Alfie?
Well, I thought about it when the only game to that magnitude that I've taken Alfie to was the League Cup final against Ross County. And so it was about 15 quid for us for the bus, 25 quid for the tickets, say what, 3 quid, whatever it was for the programme. And then obviously the pints were scaled down because I was in dad mode that day. So, you're probably talking in the region about easily just between me and the wee man about 60 quid. And that's sort of the bottom end of it, of what it could be when you don't factor in things like he sees one of the wee jester hats and he wants one of them. He wants a big foam finger that he actually got the last time and ripped it before the bus had even left Leith Walk. So you could easily spend between 50 to 100 quid, like no questions asked.
Yeah. And I was having a quick look on the website, Jim, before I came on. I seen there's a benefit that if you donate £25, you'll be entered into a competition.
Yeah, we want to add an extra incentive, and what we've agreed with the club is that we would get a signed jersey framed, and that we would draw at random. So everyone who's made a donation of £25 or above, and their names would go into a hat, and we'd draw at random one winner. And that winner, if they let us know who their favourite player is, if you like, we will arrange for that player to sign an HSL top, and that would be framed, and hopefully that would make a special prize.
I think that's a fantastic idea, Craig. Like getting this, not just the sign top from the whole team, but the favourite player and obviously the HSL top as well.
Especially if the member has their name on the top as well, that'd be quite a decent memento for them to have.
Yeah. Aye.
Well, I don't know if you've actually seen the top. It's really terrific. Yeah. I mean, much better, I think, than any of us expected in terms of the quality of the print of the names. Obviously, we were worried beforehand about whether kind of each individual name would be visible. And as it's turned out, it's terrific. Now, also, the name appears on the strip on more than one occasion. So I think, I'm not even sure if it's 3 or 4. So, people whose names are on that strip, it's very, very visible. And the other thing, of course, what we've learned is that what we understand, Jack Ross really likes that top. And that's why we've worn it quite a lot. When last year, when we agreed this with Leanne, we'd anticipated that the top would probably only be worn maybe once or twice. It's officially lodged with the SFA, but obviously the first top and the second were the ones that we anticipated would be worn most of the time, and this strip only maybe appearing once or twice. Well, obviously it's been worn much more than that. So we think it's a really good prize, buying all those things.
It's a tremendous kit, Craig. It reminds me of the sort of the Brazil top and things like that with the yellow and the green. Just absolutely brilliant top.
I think it's yellow. Yellow's one of the colours that just seems to hit the spot with Hibs. Yellow and purple.
Yeah.
Not together, obviously not yellow and purple together, but yellow being a colour and purple being one of their colours. One of my favourite tops was the yellow one for the First Division season.
Yeah. That was really
with
nice
the Le Coq Sportif down the
big green collar, brilliant top.
Aye. Yeah.
Aye. So, is there any idea, Jim? Oh, sorry, go.
I was going to say, if you didn't mind me going back to Craig's point about how much he spends at Hampden.
Yeah.
I cannot stress enough how important it is that only people who can manage to donate actually make a donation. We're very, very conscious of how difficult it is at the minute, and some folks have lost, their jobs or on reduced wages or things like that. So we realised that people can't. Not everybody could spend what they would have spent had they been going. So we want to kind of stress that it's only if this is money that you're not going to miss, you would have spent it anyway, then that's great if you can donate. But under no circumstances are we kind of looking for anybody who's struggling or anything like that. It's not needed. It wouldn't be right.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially this sort of time of year. I mean, I remember when we had you on earlier in May, sort of when there was a big drive beforehand and things like that. You said the same sort of thing, and it's a great point still to stick home. But it's a difficult time for everybody just now, and this is a fantastic thing to raise a lot of money for the club, but it's only if it's right for the person. I completely wholeheartedly agree with that. So is there a number of people that you're like that you've got a target? Obviously the 100k is the kind of the big target, but have you got an idea of how many people you might need to get to participate in this in order to get towards the target?
Well, I mean, if the ticket price, of course, would be around about £25. And again, as Craig mentioned, he might have spent 60 quid, but we kind of assumed that maybe the typical donation would be the price of the ticket. Now you only have to work out 4 times that, and there you've got the 100,000. So if there was 4,000 people who made a donation of £25, there's your 100,000. But we're not certain we'll get 4,000. We've got about 4,000 people who have previously at one point or another donated to HSL, but we're trying to reach out here to the wider support, because obviously the HSL members are already donating each month. So we're trying to get beyond that 4,000 group, and actually beyond the season ticket group as well, because often we hear people saying, "Well, I've already paid the season ticket price," blah blah blah. So we've got about 11,000 season ticket holders, but if you think about it, when we won the cup, there was estimates of 100,000 Hibs supporters turned out when we brought the cup back. We're talking about a cup here that we're in the semi-final, and no disrespect to St Johnstone or any of the other teams, but we've got to be honest and say we're in a good prospect of winning this cup. So we're trying to reach beyond the season ticket holders, so people who are not even season ticket holders, and saying, look, you probably would have gone to Hampden. So not even people that are season ticket holders, because quite rightly they say we're already paid money, but non-season ticket holders, can we reach out to them and say, hopefully you could make a one-off payment of £25, and we're reaching out to that 100,000 people who turned out when we brought the cup home.
This is obviously the 100k is a lot of money that they're hoping that we're hoping to raise. Hibernian supporters are hoping to raise. Obviously, the game's on 23rd of January. Even just sort of partial of that would be a big help to Jack Ross right now, wouldn't it?
Definitely, I think, especially as we all know, with the way that COVID has affected every single industry. As Jim's rightly said, there's people who've lost their jobs, who are on reduced income. But there's something about your football team that really just it's that one brand, so to speak, that you're loyal to. Everybody, 1 week I'll go to Tesco, then I'll go to Sainsbury's, but I wouldn't go and sit and watch Sainsbury's shareholders at a board meeting, but I would sit and watch a Hibs AGM. When it's your own club, it sort of hits different. And I think football's in a sort of privileged way of being probably the only industry that can call on that sort of loyalty from its inverted quotes customers, because effectively when you boil it down, that's what we are. But when you look at the signings that were we're looking to make, the names that have been rumoured over the last few days, adding 100k to the coffers. I know that's the overall target, but, anything, I'm sure anything the club will be very appreciative of. But no, especially if we're looking to finish third, we need that extra cash to really help us get to that next level. And I think that an initiative like this, just like it did in the summer, because I'll be honest, I'll hold my hands up, I didn't subscribe to HSL for the beginning, but with the way that it was marketed in the summer made me feel like that I was missing out by not doing it. So I've been subscribing to HSL since April or May, whenever it started. I know it's not a lot, but that's an extra however much it is a month I put in that the club weren't getting before, and I'm sure there's loads of other people like myself that were in that position. So if we can tap into those kind of people again this time, it'll be really beneficial for us.
Yeah. And Jim, obviously we've seen the club sort of share this about and really sort of, obviously you mentioned earlier the fact that they're going to get all the players to sign the shirts and things like that. Seems to be a lot more sort of cooperation with the club and a lot sort of more unity with the club in terms of sort of Hibernian supporters in the last sort of year.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to be fair to the club. I mean, they going back even from day one when we started with this. On the one hand, we wanted to make it quite clear that this is a fan group and we're independent from the club, and this is not, HSL doesn't belong to the club, and therefore we shouldn't blame the club for saying, well, that's fine, it's your gig if you like.
Yeah.
And then, we then complain if we think the club are not getting engaged as much as we would like. So it's a difficult balancing act, i.e., we're either kind of independent and trying to do our own thing, or we're not. If we get too close to the club, we also get people saying to us, well, you're not independent. So it's a fine balance. But the club have always, when we've gone along to them and said, could you do this or you could do that, where they were able to, they've always done it. And I stress the point about where they're able to. So in the past, we've often run into maybe problems where we would like them to sort of promote a particular activity what we're doing, but we've run against the realistic problem that at that particular time, the club had to promote another activity. For example, the season ticket campaign. Mm-hmm. So it was quite often there would maybe just timing issues that prevented the club getting everything behind something that we were doing, and it wasn't really anybody's fault. But certainly, I've never come across a point where I've asked Leanne or anybody, could you do this, could you do that? We've never had anybody turning us down. It's all often been about resources. The club, particularly in the past, they've tried to run a tight ship. So in the marketing side of things, they've always been kind of at bare minimum in terms of staff. So they've not had someone that could say, right, can you do this or do that or do that, in the way that perhaps bigger clubs have had. So, we've been happy with the help that they can give when they've been able to give it.
And I think there's sort of been a lot of change in terms of the Hibernian supporters in terms of things like social media, a lot more active on social media. I know Daniel came involved. Daniel sort of messaged us to help sort of organise this and stuff. What sort of, I guess maybe an opportunity sort of to say about the work Daniel's done, but also like say there's things like the man in the match every week, which is great to see, and a lot more engagement and things like that. How beneficial do you think that's been towards getting the name of the Hibernian supporters out there, and then off the back of that, sort of getting more money in?
It's been fantastic. As you rightly point out, Daniel very kindly approached us last April, something like that. I think he was furloughed as a result of the pandemic and had time on his hands. And we obviously welcomed that offer with open arms. Daniel and Gavin and they have been fantastic. I mean, they're younger, they're more skilled in social media than myself or any of my fellow connectors. But most of all, they've had the time to do it. And that's why you've probably seen a bigger presence from Hibernian supporters on social media, to name but one.
Yeah, and like you say, you mentioned Gavin there as well. I know he's put a few of the videos together and stuff, and I seen a post from him saying, this is my first attempt at this. I appreciate feedback and stuff, but it's great to sort of see, creative Hibs fans getting involved and helping get the name of the Hibernian supporters out there and helping it sort of raise more money. And I think that, it's a fantastic cause, this whole thing. I mean, Craig, I don't remember this earlier, a few months ago even, when Sky had their whole pay-per-view thing, $15.99, Newcastle fans went, no, we're not paying that, and instead put the money towards a charity, and I think they raised loads of money for a food bank or something like that in the local area. So what, there's examples of fans coming together like this for a good cause.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when as a fan purely and not knowing how HSL operates, I think we are unfairly beaten with the Foundation of Hearts stick at times. When fans say, "Oh, they're putting in X amount of money a month," we're not putting anywhere near that. The thing is, HSL wasn't set up to save the club. HSL was set up to help preserve the club and protect the club moving forward. Whereas the Foundation of Hearts was set up because if it didn't, there wouldn't be a club for them to support. So I think we are unfairly hit with that bat at times. I know from obviously speaking to Jim last week when we were organising this to come on. I know there's a lot of changes planned anyway for HSL positively moving forward, because I expressed to Jim that as a fan at times it's kind of hard to understand where the group stands right now, obviously especially with Ron Gordon taking over. Obviously I'll leave that to Jim to go into more detail, but it's definitely something that I think we can, as a support, if we can all get behind it like we have with the season ticket campaign last year. Looking at our, obviously when things get back to normal, looking at our, financial situation and going, can we maybe spare that extra fiver? An extra fiver might not sound a lot, but if you've got 10,000 people sparing that extra fiver every month, that's 50 grand that the club never had at the start of the month.
Yeah. So just on that, Jim, what has? On you go.
I think, you touch. I hear it all the time, that the business about the Foundation of Hearts and that, and everybody acknowledges you can't compare the two because we came from different starting positions, and their starting position was they were on the edge of a cliff, ready to fall off. So the invitation was simple. We either all get together or your club disappears. So there was a real burning bridge. That's how they were able to attract 8,000 people in a very quick period of time. We weren't in that position, and that's why it's always been very hard for us to drive our number up to that level. Having said that, I know people don't like to hear it. That was then, and this is now. And where they've been very successful is they've kept that going. They've managed to keep the 8,000 direct debits. They've now paid all the money they were obliged to pay in order to take ownership of the club. That's all now behind them, but they've still got the 8,000 direct debits, which is now at their disposal to spend whichever way they want. Now, my own personal opinion is they may already have a good manager, a much better manager than they had before. We've got to watch out that we don't end up in a situation where, if you dare I say it, the Everton on Edinburgh, where they push far ahead of us. And they do that on the back of financial might. And the ingredient that anybody needs a good manager. So if they've got a good manager combined with money ploughing into them, we've got a hard shift.
And I guess sort of this is something that we kind of spoke about before, but it's kind of maybe good to sort of go over it again. I mean, I think maybe sort of trying to put my hat on other Hibs fans. You know, they might go, oh well, we've got a billionaire owner now. Why should or a millionaire owner? Why should I bother giving up my money when I'm, you know, not a millionaire? You know, has there been a bit of have you spoken to Hibs fans that maybe their attitudes changed since Ron's came in, and just if they sort of feel that maybe that because the money's there from Ron, they might not be needed anymore?
No, I don't think things have changed and attitudes haven't changed. And I think you're right to say that, and it happened with the previous owner. And Hibs are not unique. If you look at every other club where you've got a similar situation, that's what happens. If the fans believe that the principal shareholder is a multimillionaire, now, rightly or wrongly, they then just assume or hope that what that means is that millionaire will just plough money into the club hand over fist. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And you'd probably even pose the question, even if that millionaire owner did want to do it, would you really want that to happen? Because it usually comes at a price and very often has a sad ending. So the reality is that Ron has come in and he's bought the club from the previous millionaire, but none of the two of them have said from day one that they were just going to gift the club money right, left and centre. They haven't said it, and you'd have to take the view, why should they? You know, we've got to run the club successfully.
Yeah, I think there's got to be the thing about, you know, self-sustaining as well, and playing it, and fans playing the part. And, you know, I think, you know, Roman Abramovich is a one-off. There's, for every one Roman Abramovich, there's 99 Vladimir Romanovs. So no, I think, you know, don't get me wrong, I think we've got a fantastic owner in Ron, but I think he's, you know, although he's wealthy, he's not going to plough his own money in. He's kind of there to sort of steady the ship, and sort of then. Even then, he spoke about that at the AGM about getting money from external sources. I think we've seen a lot more partnerships, a lot more sponsors and stuff. He spoke about maybe a scheme to get, you know, maybe not sort of any of us, but like sort of fans that could maybe donate 20 grand a year and things like that, and be the only sort of 5 of them and stuff. And I can't remember exactly the schemes, but he's talking about all these different ideas in order to get money into the club. So it's not, I don't think it's going to be as simple as, oh, there's a millionaire owner, he's going to put his money in. No, he's going to run it like a business, and a very good, well-run business. But if Hibs fans can help, then there's definitely the part for Hibernian supporters. So, like I say, I can see the Zoom timer's giving me a notification there. So what would be your sort of final sales pitch, Jim, for I know you sort of mentioned about only fans donating if they can, but in order to get to that, ideally £4,025, what would be your sales pitch to Hibs fans to get involved?
Well, I'll probably think that a selfish one. Just think of the wonderful European trips that we've had. And we would love to have that again. Now, obviously, none of us know if come June it would be, or July, whether we'll even be able to travel to a European away match. But if we assumed that we were able to do that, wouldn't it be wonderful? We could. I remember a couple of seasons when we were in Mould, and the great time there, and many other previous European trips. I would love to see that again. And if we can do anything that gives Jack Ross the chance to get us into that European position, then I personally am happy to do it. And I'm hoping that other Hibs fans feel the same way. You know, as I said, it might, you know, whether we raise 100,000 or 60,000, even 60,000, right now, it's very likely they're on a really, really tight budget. And if I'm actually speaking to Ron Gordon on Tuesday, and if we're in a position to say, you never knew that you were going to get this 60,000 or 80,000 or 100,000, I would like to think he can immediately say, right, if Jack comes to us with a proposal, it might even only be a loan deal, and that's going to cost us 60,000. Bang, it's arranged, and that could be the person that gets us that European place.
I mean, ideal scenario that this vaccine's obviously been rolled out. Ideal scenario, everything's sort of back to normal June, July. Craig, imagine, European trip is your first away trip in a long time, because we've not been able to go on a proper holiday, and we get to go away with Hibs because and they've got into Europe because Jack Ross has been able to get that one extra player across, which, like Docherty was a fantastic signing. Somebody like him that sort of kicked on and helped the squad in the last half of the season. It sounds brilliant.
That's fantastic.
Aye, so there's the hope for that. So, like I say, so where can, like, just finish up then, Jim? Where can people donate?
They go on our website. Existing members, they go into the log on to their members page, and from that members page, they can make a one-off donation. If you're not a member at the moment, or you've never donated before, it's the same. You still go into our website, Hiberniansupporters.co.uk. You click on the donate button, and just navigate your way through the system. Couple of points I'd make. Don't be worried that it says that this is a direct debit. A direct debit does not mean regular payments. It's just a technical term. It means that you're giving the other person the authority to collect the money from your account. Don't worry about that word, direct debit. You're just you're ticking the box to see a single contribution, and that's what it will be. It's very clear, single contribution or regular contribution. And if you've clicked single contribution, that will be it. Alternatively, again on the website, if you look at the section that says, if you don't want to do it that way, or you're donating from abroad, click on that button, and that's done by way of a normal debit card or credit card. So it collects it via the Stripe system. So there's plenty of flexibility in which way you can make it.
Flexible ways to make the payments, options for existing members and for potential new members as well. So yeah, it sounds great. And I guess the thing would be, if people are making this one-off donation, it might make them more likely to donate in the future. But even if it is just a one-off donation, encourage all Hibs fans that listen to this podcast to go help be part of the £25 if you can, obviously depending on your current situation. So thank you very much for taking the time to chat to us, Jim. Like I say, Hiberniansupporters.co.uk to donate what you can. Let's help get to that Hampden100k. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much. See you later.